This is PNC Roundtable.
Hello, this is Ric DeVore, Regional President for PNC Bank, and thank you for listening to PNC Roundtable. It's on this show that we tackle some of the region's tough issues with people who make a difference.
Now here's the PNC Roundtable.
Welcome in to the PNC Roundtable. I'm Paul W. Smith with my co-host, Ric DeVore, Regional President, PNC Bank. And hey, by the way, congratulations to you. I know that you are going to be the presiding officer, and this may have already happened, but you were the presiding officer as you welcomed in the chairman of the U.S. Export-Import Bank, Fred Hochberg.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. We PNC Bank is one of the largest export-import sponsors in the United States. In fact, one of the programs we're the largest in the country. And so it's just kind of natural that we sponsor, that event, and we'll have some high school kids there as well. As you know, Beth Chapel does a great job of bringing in high school students to hear, different people, through these venues. So I'm pretty excited about that.
And I have to tell you, as I said to my morning show listeners, I'd never had heard of the U.S. Export-Import Bank, but he talked about working with Andrew Liveris of Dow, Alan Mulally Ford, Governor Rick Snyder, with you guys. It's an interesting behind-the-scenes and very important service.
It really is, and I think sometimes it's misunderstood by the public because I think sometimes people think that export means export of jobs. And if you really think about it, it's exactly opposite, because if we manufacture the goods here, we're actually creating jobs. So I think sometimes there's a kind of an image issue with Export-Import Bank.
And what we tend to forget, because we are always talking about how everything we buy is made in China or whatever, we keep talking about the imports, but we're still the largest exporter in the world.
Absolutely, and Michigan is right in the middle of it, so it's really important to the state.
Congratulations to you as presiding officer there, Ric DeVore, for the chairman of the U.S. Export-Import Bank, Fred Hochberg. That was occurring Tuesday, March 6th for the Econ Club of Detroit. We have a very special guest with us today, and very happy to welcome a guy who, as soon as he comes into town, everyone has tremendously high expectations for everything that he does. He is the president and CEO of Palace Sports and Entertainment, and we welcome Dennis M. Mannion to our PNC Roundtable. Nice to have you here.
Paul, great to be here.
You've got a lot of experience. Our paths crossed without us knowing it, I guess, in our Philadelphia days. But I think the rarest of rare distinctions, Dennis, of having experience in all four major league sports, the Major League Baseball, the NHL, NBA, and NFL.
Yeah, that's for sure. My wife is threatening that the X Games are next. So I told her no.
You should have started at the X Games. You're going in the wrong direction.
Exactly.
That'd be funny, though. But why Detroit then?
It's interesting. When I left the Dodgers, I had a few different opportunities that I looked at, and I really, wanted to find a rabid sports market. Had great experiences in Baltimore and in Philadelphia. Colorado was great too, but not as rabid as those other two cities. L.A. was interesting. I kid people all the time. If you're not on TMZ, you're really not anything. So until we manufactured this big divorce at the Dodgers, the team was not popular. So
good job in manufacturing. Good job in getting attention, my friend.
Exactly.
Whee!
Yeah. But in all seriousness, my parents lived here for about 15 years. I visited Detroit a number of times while I was working for the Phillies, and it was obvious how rabid this town is for sports. And the unique thing about it is it's 6 teams, not just 1, 2, or 3. Between the 2 colleges and the 4 big pro teams, it's a crazy market for sports, so it's really enjoyable.
Well, having worked at, for example, WABC in New York, I became a New York Yankees fan because we carried the games. Much to the chagrin of Steve Courtney, our sports guy, who calls them the New York Stankies. When I was in Philadelphia, I've never been a big sports guy, but here we are at WWDB FM, the talk station, and you get caught up because Philly fans are fabulous fans. There's no question about it. I mean, they are. What comes to mind, I can't help it, is throwing snowballs at Santa Claus. But that's another story, and people just keep bringing that up. And it's just not exactly true. Well, it's kind of true. But now you come to Detroit, and let me tell you, my friend, you are amongst some of the best fans in the world, as you probably already know.
No doubt. I mean, it's unbelievable to watch these two powerhouses of college teams in football seasons sell the place out. The Tigers were selling the place out when they were in their run this past season. The Lions, a great run this year, selling it out. And the Red Wings are the Red Wings. They just keep drawing. So I think as our club comes around,
I was going to say the Pistons were the Pistons, but the Pistons are coming back.
Yeah, it's a rebuild. We've got a couple of young players that we're working with now that are developing and starting to see small progress in the attendance side of things, and it mirrors pretty much team performance.
And Ric DeVore, in your line of work with the growth of our community that PNC Bank is so much a part of, and you as Executive Vice President and Regional President of PNC Bank and PNC Financial Services Group, all of the things that are lifestyle issues, because that's what we're talking about with all things that have to do with Palace Sports and Entertainment, and the President and CEO, our guest, Dennis Mannion. It's all about lifestyle, and that's a very important part of attracting people to the area.
Oh, no doubt about it. And obviously with the Palace being up in Oakland County, and which a lot of people forget is still the 10th wealthiest county in the United States, between the Palace and then DTE, during the summertime, I mean, that's a lot of the lifestyle of the people in that area. And obviously they draw from much larger. And that really, I get the question all the time, and Dennis knows this, is, why the Pistons? And, quite frankly, it's about brand awareness. We obviously have radio spots, we have TV spots, but also more importantly, and I think sometimes people that may not, this is a little bit less obvious, and that has to do with the foundation, the Pistons Foundation and our foundation, and working together in the community and the schools. Education's a huge issue with us. And so we work with the Pistons, but then also they support things that are important to us. And so that, to me, is the definition of a good partner.
Yeah, there is a history of community involvement by the Pistons organization, by Palace Sports and Entertainment, by that organization. And I presume that that's going to continue. And maybe if you could share with us, Dennis Mannion, your vision for the organization.
Well, I'm really excited about that part of it. Have had a lot of years with various community relations-driven programs. It was interesting at the Phillies. The lesson I learned is that you should focus in on one particular brand of charity and grow it. And there we were pretty much zoned in on Lou Gehrig's disease and finding a solution for it. And it brought a lot of focus to the organization in terms of fundraising and publicity as well, to tell you the truth. But interestingly, with the Avalanche, the team side of it, the GM had asked, give us 4 events that we can attend as a team in total, rather than spreading us all over the community and putting a pebble in a pond. Let's make big impact with 4 different events with the entire team there. So it took that lesson away from there. The Ravens, the lesson there was really cast the net on the days that the players have off days, and we pretty much worked into their contracts. Tuesdays are off days for NFL players. So it was a great time to get them out. And the last piece of it, of course, was at the Dodgers, where we worked on a program that recognized 4 different legs of the community and made programs around that. Here, I think taking all that knowledge together, we've started a program called Come Together. And the Come Together program largely rewards anybody that's volunteered their time for public good, so leaders in the community. And it dovetails very, very well with the initiatives that PNC's doing, because whether it's feeding the hungry or getting involved with youth education, tutoring programs, and so forth, that's volunteerism at its best. And that's what the program does. We really want to archive all these great stories of people that have just done tremendous good for folks for no money and just giving of their time. So it's starting up. We're starting to get a tailwind going here at the games. We have somewhere around 2,000 volunteers per game are our guests to come in and be recognized.
That's certainly good news, Rick, and it's nice to have another partner in all the things that really, as Dennis mentions, is a part of your DNA at PNC Bank.
No, I really was happy to hear that. And again, if you notice in Dennis's comments, focus, fewer things, do them bigger, do them well, which is, as Dennis knows, kind of our mantra. Dennis has had an entree into MEDC, as well as the, representatives of the county executives for the 3 counties. In fact, he did survive Brooks Patterson lunch.
Cool.
So, so
A few new jokes.
It's always
yeah.
He's got a million of them.
He did. But
And you're a new person, so really they're old jokes.
Yeah. New target.
but that was a way to, I think as being a partner and being partners, that was a good way to help get this program, get it more legs. Obviously, Pure Michigan is something I think you're excited about.
Yeah.
And so with the MEDC connection, and obviously the Palace is in Oakland County, so I think the Brooks Patterson, that introduction is helpful as well.
All right. Well, we can all use all the help we can get because, frankly, in Detroit especially and in the surrounding region, we have a lot of challenges. And a lot of opportunities. And frankly, Dennis, that goes for you there, too, at Palace Sports and Entertainment. What do you see as rather than top challenges, the top opportunities that you come into?
It's a fascinating time with the way technology's exploded in the last 5 or 10 years. It's pretty amazing that we weren't really on handhelds until maybe 5 years ago. And that explosion and acceleration of communication and information, I think it puts us all in a position to work together better. So on a community level, I think we're in a position now to bond and collaborate. I would hope down the road that the 6 teams that I refer to in Michigan will all do things together for collective good that will really grow the pie. Specifically on the Palace side, the big opportunities, it's the same thing. Everybody's narrowcasting their lives now. They're figuring out what fits best for their lifestyle. Some people think that for sports teams, the ticket prices are the biggest barrier, and the truth is it's time. How do I effectively use my time? What's it take to go to a basketball game, a hockey game, a baseball game, football game? And usually you're looking at 5 hours of your time. So we're looking to create more lifestyle opportunities so that when a father or a mother makes a decision to buy a 5-game package, they're also buying camps and clinics for their kids in the summertime and maybe a position in the fantasy league during the year. So you feel like you've done something to program your life. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It sounds like you've got a very good plan.
Well, it's if I didn't have one after 30 years of this, I'd be in big trouble.
In those 30 years, one of the things that really caught my attention, Dennis Mannion is with us, President and CEO of Palace Sports and Entertainment, along with Ric DeVore, Executive Vice President, Regional President, PNC Bank, PNC Financial Services Group, our co-host on our PNC Roundtable. The idea of taking or getting all of the teams in a city together and using that incredible, powerful force to affect more good things in a community. Has that been done already, or is that just a kind of an idea you'd like to try to do here?
I think teams talk about it. I haven't done it in other cities.
I've never heard of it being done, and it never even occurred to me until just now that what a force that would be.
It would be incredible. And you think about the uniqueness of each team's facilities that they play in, the facilities that are attached to them, whether you're looking at the Fox Theater or at DTE Energy Center, the combination of all the assets, I think, down the road is the best thing for the community and the best thing for our businesses, too.
Pretty exciting, Rick.
It really is, and I think we're starting to see that if you look at what's going to happen here in this city, in this region, I should say, next January 1st, where you have the Maple Leafs playing the Red Wings at University of Michigan Stadium. And then you have concurrently what's going to be going on at Comerica Park with the college teams. That, is, to me, could be kind of part of the playbook. Now, if we could just add in, the other sports teams. But if you think about that could be the precursor to. That's
a very good idea. That would be a great stepping point because already these people have been brought together in what could have been a messy, horrible. Right. Competition to get the event. One way or another, it's been worked out that everybody's getting a piece of the event.
Right, absolutely.
It's amazing. For hockey, that's really their biggest score to date.
Yeah,
they did great in Philadelphia last year, but what they're going to do here is it'll be legendary.
Yeah, it will be legendary. We're already getting psyched about it and excited about it. Give us a little bit of the outlook for the Pistons as you see it, because they are the ones that have done so well in the past, and it'd be great, talk about getting all the teams together. It'd be great to get all the teams doing well together at once. And boy, the Lions have come back in a way that we're all excited and proud about. Tigers, obviously, and we'd love to see the Pistons too.
It's interesting, regardless of the league you're in, the recipe for success is pretty much the same. You know, you spoke of the Yankees a little bit when we were chatting earlier, and they're the one team that had the firepower with all the revenue they had just to buy players. And even when they did that, sometimes they didn't make the playoffs for lack of chemistry. Whereas you look at the Red Wings, or you look at the Lions and the success the Tigers are having now, and it's the same for the Pistons. It is the law of the farm. You've got to develop your players. You've got to acquire the right ones and develop them and build a chemistry amongst them. It's like a band coming together when the head coach is the band leader. And I think we're down the road with that. Guys like Brandon Knight and Greg Monroe, Jonas Jerebko, they are guys that I believe fit the style of play of the new head coach, Lawrence Frank. And you can see that coming together as these guys learn the game and learn his system. And they're pillared right now by some pretty good veterans in Tayshaun Prince and Rod Stuckey and Ben Wallace. And I think it's a process where you have to do it right. There's no shortcuts. You've got to take your time. You've got to develop your guys. It's fun to watch Brandon Knight and Greg Monroe get better every single game. They're learning this thing, and you're seeing their point totals go up, the rebounds go up. It's fun. It's a fun building process. I think the timeline on it, to me, is probably a 2-year plan back to the playoffs, but you could be surprised. You know, it could end up next year back in it again, but if history plays itself out right, you'd have another year of development, and then you're off to the races for a pretty decent period of time.
And that's a very, to me, Rick, maybe you agree or disagree, but to me that's a very level-headed approach. When you said timeline, I started to get nervous. I thought, timelines are not good to mention in sports because we remember those things around here, and we repeat them to you when we see you in the supermarket.
Right.
So I think you gave yourself a realistic timeline.
I think it is realistic, and you know, there's no doubt we were spoiled here. I mean, how many years in a row did we go to the Eastern Conference Finals, and it became like second nature, and I think almost people assumed that was a given, and that's really a privilege. But I think it's a thoughtful and realistic timeline, you know, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Dennis and I were kidding on the way here that this is not the NFL. He who finishes last gets the automatic first draft choice. And, I think that helps a lot, because when Lawrence is teaching and coaching, and I think teaching is the key word, you know, these guys got to continue to play hard throughout, through the whole string here, not just, dial it in, so to speak. And I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, for you, Rick, being in other markets and then coming back home, you saw things and you went, wait a minute, why aren't we doing this? Or we ought to do that, because that's what you saw or experienced or did elsewhere. I'm wondering for you, Dennis, in the different markets that you've been, now you're here in Detroit, have there been any, I don't want to use the word glaring because it sounds negative, but have there been any surprises of things that are just naturally done in your other sports markets that you've experienced that you can introduce here in Detroit that we're all going to say, gee, that's a great idea. How come we haven't been doing that?
Well, it always, in each case, it's not the most sexy thing, but consistency is really the name of the game. And there's a brand. When the brand of the team and the marketing plan come together as one. For example, in Baltimore, we had an enormous branding issue. You had the Colts were there until 1984, largely a crew-cut team, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They wore white and blue uniforms, and they were about as lunch pail as you could get. And in comes this team in their purple uniforms and do-rags, and Ray Lewis and Jonathan Ogden as the first 2 picks. And you're sitting there and you're scratching your head like, wow, this is a really blue-collar market that's used to just 3 yards, a cloud of dust, Earl Morrall, Johnny Unitas is the quarterback. And what came about was really interesting. Ozzie Newsome, who was the GM there, was drafting for athleticism and guys that played tenaciously. And this edgy, cool, powerful brand emerged like a Raiders of the East, and the marketing and the business side followed suit. So the things that we did were always a little different than the other teams, like the biggest cheerleader squad in the entire league, a 400-person marching band, everything, by the way, designed to create a home field advantage. That band would stay on that field while the other team was warming up and frustrate them to no end. And they'd come marching out at halftime so the guys couldn't get back to their locker rooms, right away. And, there was...
He says that with a smile on his face. It's a little cynical and devious, but I love it.
Hey, having been the recipient of being on the sidelines at a Packers game and have the University of Wisconsin band play in your ear so you can't hear the coaches is... it happens everywhere.
Oh, that's great.
But things there, what I loved about both the, and I dare bring up the name, the Avalanche, and the Ravens. In both cases, the focus was on winning and how do you make a home ice, home field advantage, and create really a hellish place for the visitors to come and play. Now, I'm not going to reveal all the tricks.
Yeah, I'm just going to ask you guys here. Link Bessert in the studio with us, a very sports-oriented guy. Have we created a hellish place for other teams to play with our venues here? Working on it, yeah. I just wondered. I never thought of it that way as being in fact, but I was in a conversation last night about what it's like to be, for example, at Notre Dame watching a Notre Dame football game wearing a Michigan jersey or whatever. In college, I think about it. I hadn't thought about it that much in the pro sports.
It's intimidating. It's funny. The Steelers of all teams and the Raiders, of course, have it dialed in. When you fly into that city on a team flight, and you get off on the tarmac and in your bus and you're ready to speed down to your hotel, the guy at the tarmac gate will hold you up 15 minutes just to do it.
That's definitely Pittsburgh.
There's
no doubt about it. That's Pittsburgh.
He knows it's the Ravens, and he's frustrated.
This is at the level of the Woody Hayes, Bo Schembechler days. Michigan, Ohio State, the locker room's painted pink, or there's no hot water, or any number of things.
Yeah. Well, I respect the Rooneys, but they weren't stupid when they designed their new stadium because the team buses have to serpentine through their tailgate zone. So the number of hot dogs that are thrown at the bus and the terrible towels that are, you walk into there and you're fairly well psyched out. Raiders have the same thing, but they use eggs when you pull into the loading dock. But the teams are getting, they're smart. They know how to encourage.
Well, they know how to sell more hot dogs. That's for sure. I'm not so sure the eggs are so good unless they're not selling raw eggs at the stands there. No, the people are bringing them in, but the hot dogs, you don't have to carry anything in. You buy them and you throw them. Man, oh man.
It is an interesting thing when you think about your team and how you support them the best. And a lot of it is very, very basic. At the Pistons, for example, you can't get on an 8-0 run and then run a 30-second commercial on your scoreboard. You just can't do that. You can't set up your inventory that way because it takes the wind right out of the sails of the fans. So there's little things like that to keep
Unless
momentum.
That's a PNC commercial.
Well, no.
I was going to say, Sean,
hey, no. These guys are great because we just go to a PNC ball blaster.
Isn't that the truth? That frankly, at first I didn't embrace it, but the reality is it is what it is. The crowds now have to be kept busy all the time.
Well,
I remember when we used to sit there when there was a timeout, and we would just sit there. There wasn't an activity. There wasn't a juggler on the field or somebody blasting T-shirts at us or having a contest of any kind. We were just there.
Yep. Well, and now, especially in a world where you live on a handheld, on your mobile phone or your handheld computer.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is I think you'll start to see teams get much more aggressive with instant replays and statistics and all that sort of thing delivered right to your mechanism.
Wow.
And contests. I think you'll see a lot of contests that are going on, particularly in baseball. Mm-hmm. Baseball is a layup because there's so little you can do on the scoreboard systems. But, forever fans have played that game when the catcher dribbles the ball back up to the mound. They call it mound ball. And if the ball stays on the mound, you win if you predicted it. And if it falls back off of it, I win. Well, that's all.
I'm going to say baseball. I'm going to say baseball's got a long way to go. Then there's some opportunity there.
They have some fun culture there. That balls and strikes, for example. If the whole crowd is predicting it on their handhelds, you're engaged. Yeah. So passive game becomes very interactive.
Mm-hmm. Very interactive.
So stealing bases.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And basketball has endless possibilities that way with 3-point shots and dunks and all that sort of thing with replays.
And this is, as president and CEO of Palace Sports and Entertainment, Dennis Mannion, this is something you have to look very seriously at from a variety of angles and for a lot of reasons that might be financial.
Absolutely. And everything has to make sense. When you're in that venue, you do have to entertain and keep people engaged. But I think the way you do it's got to have some brand class to it. We've upgraded cheerleaders, dancers, break dancers, all that sort of thing. We'll probably offer camps and clinics for kids that want to cheerlead and dance and that sort of thing. And same thing with basketball development. We're hoping down the road to start a Great Lakes shoot-around where you do around the world with high school shooting stars at quarter breaks. That way all the different high schools in the entire state get recognized.
Beautiful.
And you bring everybody into the community. And it's basketball, so it all fits. It's thematic.
Now you're going to have to start doing some of this stuff, Rick, at PNC banks around. We're going to get in line and feel like there should be some sort of activity or game while we're waiting a couple of minutes to get up to the teller.
We're having a banking round the world competition.
Well, as you know, it's true. If you go into bank branches and and a lot of people don't, but the people that do, there are flat screen TVs in there, and they're not just broadcasting CNN.
Right.
I mean, there's an opportunity there, and we talk about that all the time, and then trying to localize that message, i.e. that message could be different in Taylor than it is up in Sterling Heights, because it could be something that we're doing in Taylor, supporting a charity or something like that. So there's endless possibilities, and if you look at the Palace and look at the fans, I would like to know the percentage that don't have a handheld device all the time in their hand during the game.
Really?
So if you could put statistics on there, and then there is advertising possibilities there as well.
Concession discounts,
Right.
all kinds of things.
Going back to what you just said, have the numbers dropped way off? People going into the actual bank rather than doing it online? Is that? I mean, it's just drastic differences. And does that mean you've got to take a look at your bricks and mortar along the way here?
There's definitely a trend towards that, and if you look at just the check itself, right, and the cost of doing business, versus an automated clearinghouse situation is about 4 or 5 cents. Doing a check is something different. It might be more like $1 per. But with that said, you might be surprised. Even our students, when they first set up accounts, you can do it remotely, but they like to actually go into the branch. But it does depend on the demographics. So in other words, that branch in Birmingham, Michigan may have a whole different feel than a branch on a university campus, where it almost looks like you're going into a computer room, sometimes virtual tellers, etc. But it has to do, similar to the Pistons, it's about knowing the demographics in the market. It'll be different in Florida for snowbirds, right? I mean, it'll be a different experience. It can't be just one size fits all.
Dennis, do you see more organizational change down the road in your organization?
Yeah, I think it'll continue. We have a waterfall of change that's happening. Structurally, we're set. We have a strategy which is fan affinity based. We're going to be segmenting the audience and giving them what they want. And with that, we made some structural changes in the business to how we're set up. We made some leadership changes, and there is a waterfall because we bring in expertise. So you bring up social media and brand networks, digital marketing, that sort of thing. We're staffing up that way to stay relevant and get more relevant.
How involved is your owner?
He is daily involved from afar. I say that affectionately.
I sense the affection. Boy, do I sense
I will be.
Your voice got a little higher in pitch.
No, I got it. This time I had a chance to pick the guy, and he's got a fabulous mind, and his altruistic mission is to bring people together and thrill fans. So he watches the games. He's been at the last few, and we talk a lot about the chemistry of the game operations. Obviously talks to Joe Dumars quite a bit about the team performance. And then he's been very, very focused in on how do we take this to the next level? How do we take Palace Entertainment and the team to another level? How do we get more innovative? How are we going to compete with the Orlando Magics of the world that have wired their entire building? And so they're planning a whole different platform for fan entertainment. So he's a good challenger, good visionary guy.
Well, he's got a lot to work with. It's a pretty good house there, the Palace.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. They ran it pretty well.
They ran it great. They ran it great. And I think tribute to Bill Davidson is just the relentless pursuit of upgrades. He's opened the thing up in '89, and they never stopped continuing, not just to refurbish the place, but add accoutrements to it to keep it relevant. And you don't have any other choice with these venues. If you don't do that, you'll lose fans.
Right.
Yeah, the constant reinvestment has been really the key there. I mean, it doesn't seem like a 1989 venue. And, for us, Paul, we know Tom, we know Platinum Equity, and that gave us a lot of comfort from our chair. Platinum Equity's been a customer. I think now I've lost count, but I think we're up to 15 transactions we've done with Platinum Equity.
Oh, really?
And so, for us, it was a relief, so to speak. It was that somebody that bought the team is somebody that we knew, and so that that gives us some comfort as well.
Yeah, good partnership.
Mm-hmm.
Partners who've worked together on other projects, now working here at home,
right,
on what is an extremely important project.
It's really fun. There's a lot of parallels in the business. And speaking of the branches, and Rick makes a great point how they have to really be tailor-made to the community. And that's the fun stuff you do in these partnerships, because you can help each other. We can help from a content standpoint there. They help us with community touch points. It's pretty cool.
Well, and it's helped us to get to know you here on our PNC Roundtable, and we appreciate you taking time to join us and to tell us some of your thoughts and share some of your experiences, and it kind of makes it exciting for all of us to look to the future here.
Well, it's a fun market to be in, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, any way we can be of help along the way, I know I speak for Rick as well.
Mm-hmm.
You guys already have a great relationship. Dennis M. Mannion, President, CEO of Palace Sports and Entertainment, and a final word from my co-host Ric DeVore, our Executive Vice President, Regional President, PNC Bank, PNC Financial Services Group, as we wrap up this edition of PNC Roundtable.
Well, Paul, I think this is our way of making sure that, we're partners, just like we're partners with WJR. And, we look out for each other, we, take care of each other. And, I just want to make sure that Dennis gets ingrained in the community as fast as he can. He made reference earlier, his parents did spend some time, I believe, in Farmington Hills.
Right.
So there is that, that background of familiarity. In fact, he was asking on the way in, we were talking about J.P. McCarthy, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's that, that I think is really, it helps us. So he's not a complete stranger to the region, but just like you're a great partner for us, we plan on continuing to be a good partner for the Pistons and Dennis personally.
And maybe Dennis wants to put some of his teams on WJR. We have had teams on JR in the past.
Well, if you talk to Tom, there will always be more teams he's interested in.
Ooh, breaking
He never
news.
stops.
Breaking news. Dennis Mannion, President and CEO of Palace Sports Entertainment, on behalf of my co-host Ric DeVore. Join us again for the next PNC Roundtable, and I'll talk to you in the morning, Monday through Friday, 5:30 till 9 on News Talk 760 WJR, or right here on WJR.com, or on your smartphone. It's why it's called a smartphone, that you can get WJR. Regards, Paul W. Smith.